It's nice to see you all here talking to each other. Sorry, I'm a minute late. I was cleaning out the incense thing. It was all clogged up with bits of burned incense. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Tathagata's teaching, freeing all creations. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Tathagata's teaching, freeing all creations. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Tathagata's teaching, freeing all creations. Kata of Atonement. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. Fragrance of this incense invites the awakened mind to be present with us now. Fragrance of this incense fills our room, protects and guards our minds from wrong thinking. Fragrance of this incense unites us with precepts, concentration, and insight. We offer it for all beings. Homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I shall become one with the Buddha. I resolve that I shall each day follow the way of life he laid down for us to walk and awaken to his supreme wisdom. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I shall become one with the Dharma. The gates of Dharma are manifold. I vow to enter them all. The goal of wisdom is ever beyond. I shall attain it. I go to the Sangha for guidance. I shall become one with the Sangha in the spirit of universal fellowship. And as a member of the Sangha, I pledge myself to strive for the enlightenment of all beings. The Metta Sutta. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove. Wishing in gladness and in safety, may all beings be at ease. Whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another. Even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upward to the skies and downward to the depths, outward and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will. Whether standing or walking, sitting or lying down, free from drowsiness, one should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding. By not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into the world of suffering. May I be happy and well. May no harm come to me. May I learn compassion. May all my friends, family, and those I love be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all those troubled in body, mind, and spirit be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all those who have hurt me in body, mind, and spirit be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all those who I have hurt in body, mind, and spirit be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May I learn compassion. May all my enemies be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all living beings be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. Do a guided meditation. I'll aim for 20 minutes. Those of you who prefer to mute the sound and time it. Take a few deep breaths. Letting your midsection relax so that your belly can expand and contract, your lungs fill and empty completely with each breath. Not forcing it, just let the breath flow smoothly in, smoothly out. And then letting your breath settle just into a comfortable rhythm, breathing naturally. Letting your breath just find its own rhythm. Calm, nothing special, just breathing. And find a comfortable touching point, the tip of your nose or the rise and fall of your belly, center of your chest. And just to anchor your attention on the breath, we'll take a few minutes noting each breath, counting as you breathe out from 1 to 10. So breathing in, breathing out, counting 1 as the breath elongates out. And then on up to 10. And if your breath has calmed down, your mind has calmed down, and it's not difficult just to keep your attention resting on the breath, you can stop counting. Just rest your awareness gently on the breath. And you can begin to scan the body with the breath, just letting the body become more and more relaxed as the mind becomes more and more settled. You start with the soles of your feet and move up, just bringing your attention to an area establishing your awareness in that spot. Bring your awareness of the breath to that area. You may start to feel like you're breathing through your skin. If there's any tightness, anything like that, you can let it go. Physical sensations and things like that, sometimes we just let them be. Don't cling to anything. Don't push anything away. Let it go. Let it be. Then gradually working your way up, you can take different joints or different muscle groups, going from the floor to the top of your head, down your limbs. Rest your awareness. Bring your attention on the breath to that spot, breathing through it. Release and accept. As we do this, we notice a relationship between the breath and the body and the mind. We calm our breath, we calm our mind. As the mind becomes quieter, the muscles can become more relaxed, letting go of tension. As we let go of tension, breath and mind become more relaxed, more calm. external things, sounds, sights, temperatures, odors. Those things can just be there. They come and go. We don't have to do anything with them or about them. No need to attach, push away. Internal things can disrupt our concentration too. Thoughts, memories, judgments. No need to hold on to any of those. No need to create a storyline. No need to push anything away. Just let it go. Return to the breath. Anything that's not the breath, we can release or accept. After you've scanned the body, just bring your attention to some place where it's comfortable to follow the breath. Nose or the hara, the belly. Or the center of your chest. The bell will ring twice to end the meditation. When it rings the first time, bring your hands together, palms together in front of your heart. And take a deep breath. Experience where you are. And when it rings the second time, bow, showing gratitude for this time you spent developing your spiritual life. Buddha nature pervades the whole universe, existing right here now, and offering flowers, candles, and incense, hearing the Dharma and training the mind, great merit is attained. We dedicate this merit to the great Master Shakyamuni Buddha, the all-pervading and everlasting three treasures, to the 16 guardians and all protectors of their Dharma and their relations throughout space and time, to all ancestors of this Sangha and all beings in the Dharma world. May penetrating light dispel the darkness of ignorance. Let all karma be resolved in the mind, flower bloom in eternal spring. May the Dharma body maintain strength and health, and years of life be lengthened for all teachers of this Sangha. May their vows be fully realized, and may they live in perfect peace with Buddha Dharma. We pray for those suffering from violence and those who grieve for them, for those living in oppression, for all who are imprisoned, and for all refugees from violence, hunger, and catastrophe, man-made or natural. We pray for the health and well-being of those suffering from diseases of body, mind, or spirit, those working toward the healing of those afflictions. May they be serene through all their troubles. In a moment to send merit to anyone in your heart that you know is suffering, that you want to share this with. May we realize the enlightened way together. Sabe sata sada hantu avera sukajivino katang punya phalang mahang sabe bhagi bhavantu te. May all beings always live happily, free from animosity. May all share in the blessings that spring from the good we have done. Try not to step on Lola. It's good to see you all here. Oh, we've got a record live turnout tonight. Not a record, but a lot. More than usual. I'm setting the recorder. I ran out of recorded Dharma talks. I had this huge excess for a while, and then I took a little time off here and there. I used it all up, and now I don't have anything to put in the podcast this week. So I'm going to record this. So if you've been attending these and listening to the podcast, I'm sorry. I'm going to repeat myself this time around. But it was either not do one this week or find the time to record something special or record this. So I'm recording this. So anyway, hope that doesn't disappoint anyone. So I'm going to read you something from the Book of Joy, the Dalai Lama and Archbishop Desmond Tutu, that relates to what I'm going to talk about tonight. So it's on generosity, which is the 8th of the 8 foundations of joy. And the Archbishop says our book, meaning in his case the Bible, says that it is in giving that we receive. So I would hope that people would recognize in themselves that when we are closed in on ourselves, we tend to be miserable. It is when we grow in self-forgetfulness. In a remarkable way, we discover that we are filled with joy. I've sometimes joked and said God doesn't know very much math because when you give to others, it should be that you're subtracting from yourself. But in this incredible kind of way, I've certainly found that to be the case so many times. You give, and then it seems like, in fact, you are making space for more to be given to you. And there's a very physical example, and I love this. It says, the Dead Sea in the Middle East receives fresh water, but it has no outlet, so it doesn't pass the water out. It receives beautiful water from the rivers, and the water goes dank. I mean, it just goes bad. And that's why it's the Dead Sea. It receives and does not give. And we are made much that way too. I mean, we receive and we must give. In the end, generosity is the best way of becoming more, and more joyful. So it was really nice to hear that from him. I mean, every spiritual tradition, I think, all of the major ones, all the ones that I know anything about, encourage generosity, sharing, caring for others, that sort of thing, all of them. And yet, many of our societies and many of the people in our society seem to think that, the highest virtue is selfishness. And it's actually just the opposite. The Archbishop Tutu, I think he's making a joke when he says God must not understand math because it should be when you give something, you're subtracting from yourself. But actually you're receiving more. And that's very true. And the Buddha talked about that a lot too. He talked about it. So it's interesting that the Archbishop and the Dalai Lama make generosity the 8th of the foundations of joy. The Buddha made it the first of the foundations of spiritual practice, really, and not of the foundations of mindfulness, but in the sort of themes of progressive importance. Generosity was first, and the Buddhist word is dana, D-A-N-A. So he's often talking about the importance of giving as the first step on a spiritual path. So, when people get interested in Buddhism, when somebody comes to me and says, I've been thinking about checking out Buddhism, they never say, so how should I be more generous? They always want to know about meditation and chanting, maybe, things like that. Or they come in and they've read about the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path, which is actually kind of down the line as far as what you need to know and understand in order to practice. And in all fairness, an interest in meditation is what got me interested in Buddhism to begin with. So I totally understand that. But when the Buddha taught, he didn't start with those things unless he was talking to somebody who was already pretty advanced. A lot of the teachings he gave to people who were new to his teachings were to people who were practicing, ascetics, yogis, and stuff like that. But he had generally began talking when he was talking to somebody who was new to spiritual practice. He'd start out talking about the value of giving. He felt that was supremely important. He once said that if people knew the value of giving, they would not take a single meal without first sharing their food with others. Shortly after his enlightenment, he was traveling through India and he stopped at a forest to rest. And that same day, a group of 30 young men, relatively well off, young men, had gone into the woods on an outing, like a big picnic or something, with their wives. And one of these men was unmarried. And so he brought along, I guess, what you'd call an escort these days, maybe, to accompany him on this outing. And so they had their picnic or whatever they did under the trees out there. And then they got tired and they decided they would take a nap. And so everybody was asleep except for this, woman who had been hired to come along on the trip. And so she went around and helped herself to everybody's valuables and then took off. So when they awoke and realized that they'd been robbed, the men set off in pursuit of her. And they came across the Buddha meditating peacefully under a tree. And they asked, have you seen a woman running around out here? And you explained why they were looking for her. And the Buddha said, let me ask you, Which do you think is more important, seeking that woman or seeking yourselves? Well, this kind of stopped these guys in their tracks. They wondered what he meant. And so they said, well, ultimately, I guess it's better to find ourselves. And so they sat down to listen to the Buddha's teachings. I don't know where their wives are in all this. The story doesn't say where the wives are. But the Buddha starts out teaching these men about the value of giving. And so, in a sense, he began by telling these people who were pursuing a thief that to find themselves, they first had to let go of what they were pursuing. They had to let go of something. And so in Buddhism, understanding the value of giving is the foundation on which the spiritual path is constructed. Everything that follows after that depends on the practitioner's ability to let go of something that they think they can't do without, but which was actually creating problems for them. Now, the Buddha wasn't trying to, get the woman, to go free or whatever. She wasn't trying to avoid having her caught or condoning what she did or anything like that. But just he noticed this moment that these guys were looking, and he said, "You're looking for the wrong thing. You need to let go of stuff." And so giving, and like I said, the Sanskrit and Pali word is dana, D-A-N-A, is first on the list of the virtues to be perfected. If you look at the paramitas, the first of them is dana. Some traditions included in moral precepts. Most of them, are more focused on not causing harm, but there are some where they have people vow to be generous. And it's considered highly meritorious, obviously, if it's one of the virtues to develop. So let me explain the concept of merit, because, it's one of those things that I kind of assume everybody knows, but once in a while I ought to make it a point to talk about merit, because I know that there are some of you who are relatively new to this and maybe hadn't heard of this. It's hard to talk about virtue and generosity and that sort of thing without considering the idea of merit in Buddhism anyway. Merit is related to the law of karma. And the law of karma is that if you do a good thing, you get a good result. If you do a bad thing, you get a bad result. And so merit, you might hear it casually referred to as good karma. People will say something happened because they have good karma. It is actually the results of your good karma. Karma means actions. And so the accumulated results of good actions is merit. So a lot of American Buddhists really shy away from this topic. In some cases, maybe because they don't understand it, but also in some cases, it can seem a little, there's no scorecard somewhere. There's no storehouse of merit where it's accumulated, and, you accumulate enough merit points and you get a certain rebirth or anything like that. It's simply a cause and effect. If you do a good thing, you get a good result. I was explaining this to somebody once, and they said, so it's like if I go to the gym. I don't notice the effect right away, but over time, if I eat right and work out, I get the results I'm looking for. And that's very much like it. It's sort of like going, I won't pursue that metaphor any farther, but you get the point. The Buddha talked about merit in some contexts. People say the Buddha talked about merit as really synonymous with happiness. If you're accumulating merit, you're accumulating causes for happiness in your world, your own happiness and the happiness of others. So the more merit you make, the closer you move toward freedom from the stuff that keeps you stuck doing the things that cause you unhappiness. That's how that works. And generally, that means freedom from greed, anger, and delusion, which are the states of mind that cause most of our dis-ease in life, and which are basically various forms of clinging. And clinging is the opposite of giving. So if you practice giving, you're going to practice not clinging. So a lot of the times you'll hear somebody say that the Buddha said that suffering was caused by desire. And that's sort of accurate, but not exactly. The root of stress and suffering is craving. Craving and clinging would be a better way of talking about it. So certain kinds of desire. So it's not desire that causes suffering. It's the desire that causes suffering that causes suffering. All right. So if I'm thirsty, I want to drink water, that's not going to cause suffering unless there's no water, in which case, I will. But I'll be thirsty a little bit longer, and there's some sort of physical suffering to that. But the suffering that causes suffering pretty universally are the variations on themes of greed and anger and delusion. And the practice of giving directly counteracts greed and hatred and helps create a sort of flexibility of mind that can overcome delusion. So let's think about greed for a minute. What is greed? You ever thought about that? We talk about it being one of the three poisons in Buddhism. But what is it? Well, I think you could say that greed is the idea that having more will lead to happiness. If I have money and I'm not happy, and I think money causes happiness, then I probably need more money. If I have a sports car and I'm not happy, I probably need another sports car, a better sports car, a faster sports car, a prettier sports car, or whatever. Another Rolex, more girlfriends, a bigger boat, whatever. That's if I'm tying my happiness to material things and I'm not happy, then I must need more material things. And that's kind of the way greed works. So if our lives are built around greed, we probably don't think we can get happiness from giving things away, because then we'd have less. And less stuff equals less happiness. But that's not the way it works. When we give, we learn that we can get real happiness from giving more away, owning less by giving some of it away to people who need it. It's counterintuitive, but we learn that we can get a sense of satisfaction from sharing. And I don't remember who I was talking to or what the context was recently, but the first spiritual lesson you get, probably before you even know you're getting spiritual lessons, is that you should share. That's like one of the first things every kid is taught. I hope they're still teaching that, is that it's nice to share. And so and that's really what we're talking about. We're talking about sharing with others. So during a time of severe famine in India, the Buddha went into a village that had been struck really hard by famine, and he went into the village on an alms round. So he's going through this place where people were starving, asking them to give him food. And so there were Brahmins who saw this, and they were critical. They said, look at Gautama. He speaks of sharing, of giving, and yet he knowingly begs for food in a village that doesn't have enough food to keep its own people alive. That's shameful. And the Buddha said, I did. I went to that village to beg on purpose. He said, what people need most at a time like this is the spirit of dharma, of giving to others. At a time of famine, people become so frantic to get food for themselves that they will do anything, steal from others, overpower weaker ones, even kill. And that's worse than the hunger itself. What they need most at this time is to share. And I think, this last 20 months has been a real teacher there. You think about the opportunities that we've had to look out for the health of others and stuff like that, and the way people feel who aren't willing to do that. It's been interesting, because that's a gift too. Sure, I inconvenience myself, but to look out for someone else, it's really interesting the way that works. Anyway, when you give, you put yourself in a position of wealth. Giving the gift is proof that you have more than enough. Greed means no matter what you got, you never have enough. So it's a perpetual state of poverty. I don't have enough. That's what poverty is. So greed So giving the gift is proof that you have more than enough. You have enough to share, which directly contradicts the mechanism of greed. And so you basically are demonstrating to yourself that you have more than you need, that you're wealthy. A friend of mine told me once that she used generosity to counteract a tendency toward depression and anxiety. Because if she realized if she was able to help someone else, it gave her a more realistic sense of what her resources were. And that created a calmer, brighter state of mind. So giving doesn't have to mean big material donations. The Buddha said, even if a person just rinses out a bowl or cup and throws the water into a pond, thinking, may whatever animals live here feed on this, that would be a source of merit. So it's the act of giving. It's not the size of the gift, although certainly, if you're in the position to do so, bigger gifts are more meritorious if they're going to a good purpose and that kind of thing, But not all gifts have to be material. Philanthropy isn't just something that rich people can do. Part of the process of giving is to develop this mind of generosity. So you really open your heart to the idea that sharing brings happiness. And when we engage in kindness and compassion, which are the desire for beings to be happy and avoid suffering, we feel better. And part of the reason for that is we begin with practice to see this dichotomy between my happiness and the happiness of others begin to dissolve. If you've worked much with metta bhavana or Tonglen, in meditation, you'll see that. I mean, that's a real direct way of experiencing that. Going from may I be happy to may all beings be happy essentially feels the same way. You get the same happiness from it. So even to practice meditation, by the way, can be a kind of a gift to others. If you're really looking into what's causing your greed, anger, and delusion, and bringing those things under control, other people will benefit from that because your actions are going to be less driven by greed, hatred, and delusion. So you're going to be a better actor in the world. And when we become Buddhists, we take some vows in the form of precepts or training rules. Nobody hands us a bunch of commandments and says, you have to do this. We say, I'm going to do these things for my spiritual benefit. And that is also a gift. By vowing not to cause harm, we give others freedom from harm. Teaching the dharma, which you can do by, if you want to, giving dharma talks, but also helping to support a congregation. That's a gift. That's a great gift. In fact, the Buddha considered to make the dharma accessible to other people one of the best gifts, because what could you do that's better for the world than to bring more peace to it by teaching things that make people, individuals, happier and more peaceful, more joyful, as the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu talk about it. So when asked where a gift should be given, people will ask me this, well, should I just give money away to anybody? What about the guy who's asking for $1 out on the street so he can go buy cheap wine or whatever, So if you do something for someone, that's meritorious. There are people, and this is more complicated. You don't want to enable someone that is going to, your gift to them is just kind to help them destroy themselves faster and that sort of thing. Of course, you have to use some judgment, but the Buddha would say, give wherever the mind is inspired. In other words, there should be no obligation to give. You shouldn't feel compelled to give by circumstances or by obligation or commitment. The choice to give is an act of freedom. But he added that some giving is more meritorious than others. Giving to a virtuous person is better than giving to a non-virtuous person. So we should, bring some discernment to the act of generosity before, during, and after. So we need to be aware of our motivations to give also. There's people who make a big production out of giving so that they can feel good about it and they can brag about it or whatever. Even, there's so much irony in Buddhism, so many little self-contradictory things. It's really an art. You have to be careful about this, because even if you think, okay, so Sensei Morris says that I'll feel better if I start being generous, so I'm going to, give this guy $5 over here or whatever, so that I'll feel better. Yeah, you have to be careful about that. It's still good, but you somewhat diminished the virtue involved in the gift if you're thinking about the reward you're going to get for it, even if it's a spiritual reward. So you give because you want to give. You give because there's a need for the gift. You do it ideally without expectation of a reward. Otherwise, it's not really letting go. It's really a transaction. If I give something to this guy, I get to go to heaven. If I give something to that guy, I get nirvana or whatever. It's not like that. You be careful about letting your mind go there. But the Buddha said that the code of conduct for the donor to help keep the giving free and thus more beneficial is kind of like this. The donor before giving is glad. In other words, you see an opportunity to give a gift, you feel good about that. While giving, the mind is inspired. After giving, he or she is satisfied. So the donor shouldn't see the gift as payment, but as something done freely. And the giving done in a way that the recipient doesn't feel belittled by it. The giver should be glad to make the gift, and the recipient should feel welcome to it. So I mentioned the merit idea and the idea that if you do good, you get a good result. One of the things that we do as part of our practice is to give our merit away. That's another act of generosity. But it's kind of neat because, you get merit for doing something good, and then you give it away, which gives you more merit. But don't look at it that way. So listening to the Dharma is a meritorious act. Sitting here listening to me talk actually is a meritorious thing. You're doing good for yourself. That's a good action. You'll get a good result for that. And so when we go to a temple and practice, we accumulate merit. And what do we always do at the end of if you go to White Sands and you meditate and there's all this chanting and stuff, what happens at the end? You share it. You share the merit. That way, it's not just you getting the benefit. You're not selfishly accumulating good results. Now, people will ask me, well, okay, I shared the merit, but does anybody really benefit from that? If I shared the merit with, Aunt Billy Joe over there, does she really benefit? Well, we don't know. I mean, not directly, probably, maybe, who knows? But when you give away your merit, it helps keep you from clinging to the idea that you'll get something in return for your generosity. And so it keeps your giving free, and it helps you to develop your giving nature. And in the context of the world, it benefits others to do that. And, and it benefits us spiritually to do that. So we dedicated merit earlier, but I want us to do it again. Before we go, let's give away the merit that we have accumulated. So just sit comfortably for a moment. And you can close your eyes if you want to, or otherwise just look into your heart. And rather than just saying the words, just listen to me say them, and just cultivate the intention to share your blessings with others. May all beings always live happily, free from animosity. May all share in the blessings that spring from the good we have done. So thank you for the gift of your attention. And I'll see you soon. So I'll be at White Sands this Sunday. I'll be on Zoom tomorrow. If you are not checking your email, we got a new Zoom link this week. And also we'll be talking about the Heart Sutra, which I'll just send out in its entirety with every email. We'll probably chant it at the beginning of every Zoom session. So it's not that long. We can do that. All right. So thank you all very much for being here. I really do appreciate your attention, and we'll see you soon.